If you would have asked us this summer, our prediction would be Clemson would be in a different conference in the next couple of years. But now it seems like the ACC is willing to compromise and settle in order for Clemson and Florida State to stay in the conference.
You are Locked On Clemson, your daily podcast on the Clemson Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Locked On Clemson podcast. I'm your host, John Bivens. You can follow us over on Twitter at I am John Bivens or at the Tiger Wire. We are also the founder and head writer for the Tiger Wire that pulls through basically what we're doing here, but also all blog internet writing material. Thanks for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day, though. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast at and over on YouTube. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it is your team every day. After this podcast, make sure you check out one of the other podcasts from Locked On. There's over 200 shows to find all kinds of content on your favorite teams. Here on Locked On Clemson, though, you're getting all sports, all passion, all the time, where we're bringing you everything you need to know regarding Clemson sports. Today is September 18th on this Wednesday afternoon. Got a great episode for you as we're talking about conference realignment, how there's a possible settlement going on, what the win for Clemson truly looks like, and then we're going to end it talking about this weekend's game against NC State and some crucial offensive players for the Clemson Tigers. We are grateful for all our sponsors that make this show possible. For a full list, check the episode notes below. If you would have asked us our prediction this summer, if you'd have sat us down and be like, hey, what do you think is going to happen in this conference realignment? We probably would have guessed, and I 100% would have guessed, that Clemson would be at a different conference in the next 3 to 5 years. I would have stayed strong on that. That would have been very much my prediction. Well, late last night, ESPN and Yahoo put out reports saying that a possible settlement is in the process of happening, how Clemson and FSU are in early talks. I'm going to focus on that word early. Don't get your hopes up. But early talks with the ACC regarding a settlement. If you're new to this game, if you're new to the conference realignment, here's a very shortened, very, very shortened. I'm going to leave out some details just because we're going to highlight them, right? We'll come back later on and talk about the full story, but highlight what's going on. So overall, Big Ten and SEC make a lot more money compared to the Big 12 and ACC. And obviously the re-emerging Pac-12, they make a lot more money. It's almost like tiers. It's Big 10, SEC, Big 12, ACC, Pac-12, and then or Group of 5, all them. But it's very, very big distinguishing between the SEC and the Big 10, like millions of dollars for each teams. And teams get paid by their conferences based on how much money's brought in on the media market, how much is brought in on TV ratings, that kind of aspect. Teams get paid for that kind of aspect for being part of the team game. Each conference has different deals. So ACC, for instance, is with ESPN. Some conferences have a deal with Fox. It's all different kinds of aspects. And so those conferences receive money from their deals, from their sponsors, from their partners with different organizations. Then the conference has some kind of workout. Each conference has a little bit different situation, but then they pay their teams based on what the money they're seeing. The SEC pays their teams much more than the ACC. The Big Ten pays their teams much more than the ACC. Clemson and FSU have entered a lawsuit with the ACC. There's currently 3 lawsuits going on right now. ACC suing Clemson and Florida State suing Clemson, and the third one in there as well. And what they're suing over is, one, FSU and Clemson are both upset at the money they're getting in. They're upset that they feel they're playing at a higher level than a lot of teams in the nation. FSU, not a good argument right now. But either way, they feel like they're a higher prolific team when it comes to the nation of value, recognition, that kind of stuff. They feel like they are worth more than what the ACC is paying them. And they asked for the ACC to have almost like a success initiative where you get paid not the same amount, where every school in the ACC isn't paid the same, but it's more of like a value system. The better schools that are bringing in more money get paid more, which makes sense. ACC wasn't having any of it. So they decided they wanted to leave the conference. The only problem is the ACC right now has a grant of rights that every team contract or every team signed. What that grant of rights shows is that every ACC team, one, is under contract with the ACC until 2036. And the other thing it says is if they leave the conference early, they'd have to pay a hefty fee, which is around $140 million. To put that in perspective, each team is getting paid about $40 million, give or take some, to get paid per $40 million per year. That's what they're getting paid to be in the ACC. So they'd have to pay almost 4 times that to leave the conference early. But the also kicker is this. Not only do they have to pay that fee, but it also would be is that the contract they signed, ACC states that even if they leave the conference and pay the fee, that ACC would still host the rights and hold the rights in order to stream their games and all of their content. So basically, it would look like, say, Clemson paid the fee and left the ACC next year and joined the Big Ten. Well, ACC would still hold the streaming rights, the rights to play their game through the ACC network for Clemson games. And I know that's real muddy. There's different languages. There's different arguments about what's going on. But that's pretty much the gist of what's going on. So Clemson and FSU have been arguing, one, they shouldn't have to pay $140 million because the ACC has broken their agreement. Two, the contract they signed, they were almost forced to sign. There's been some rumors that that's what they're arguing. There's been all different kinds of aspects of why they went out. But the bottom line is this. The ACC has them under contract. Clemson and FSU feel like they're worth more and want to get paid more, so they're trying to leave it. The court hearings have been going on for a long time. And honestly, they're in a very early stage. Like a couple of the court cases, one of them, I believe, is still in the process of like figuring out what's going on and setting the terms. Like they haven't even started getting into like the full-fledged arguments yet. If the court cases proceed, if that keeps happening, we're still a long time away from finding out answers. We're still years away. Like my guess is 4 years away from the cases being settled, because here's the case. Let's say Florida State's lawyer came out the other week and said, you know what, judge, just save us all some time. Give us what we want. We'll be on our way. Even if the judge was like, oh, good idea, and did it, even if that happened, you know what would have happened? The ACC would come back and appeal it. So no matter what happens, there's going to be appeals. There's going to be other orders. These court hearings are going to go on for a long time. But Tuesday night, reports drew out that apparently there's talks about settling between Clemson, FSU, and the ACC. Part of that settlements will look like success initiatives. They've talked about that being on the table. They've also talked about moving that timeline from right now, the contract goes through 2036, to moving that up to 2030. And that's a huge deal, because that is also when network broadcasting rights, that goes into a conference negotiation. So whereas conferences might be getting paid more for hosting with ESPN, that kind of aspect. So that 2030, that's a crucial year. That's a big year. And that could be a big factor in Clemson or FSU staying or leaving the conference at that point. So the big things they're offering about settling, and again, early talks. We say early, don't expect a decision, honestly, before the end of the football season. It's going to be down the road. But some of those settlements are success initiatives. They've also thought about paying people based on their TV, what they bring in. So, for instance, Clemson bring in more viewers. When it comes down to football, when it comes down to ACC viewers of who's watching their games, football makes up 80% of what people watch. 80% throughout the year, football, people watching ACC football. With that, Clemson and FSU bring in much more viewers than the rest of the schools in the nation, than the conference. Now, that could be argued based on they're getting the right time slots, they're playing different opponents, who they're playing. There's a lot of different variables that go into that, other than just, oh, Clemson's on, more people watch them. There is a lot to that. So there's a little bit conflicting there. But part of the settlement would be whatever brings in the most viewers on TV get paid more money. So which is almost like a success initiative. But there's a problem there, because what happens during basketball season? You know, the single most game with the most viewers in the whole ACC this year was NC State versus Duke in the final, or in the NCAA championship game, or NCAA championship tournament, the March Madness tournament. That was the most viewed ACC game, and that was basketball. So why would Clemson get paid more money for that game when NC State and Duke were the teams a part of it? So then it goes into a conference. Well, maybe we just have a lump sum of money. That's what we're paying the whole conference, and you get paid based on the percent of viewers that you get in. It gets really complicated. If you couldn't tell, this is a muddy situation. But the news here is this. There's a chance that Clemson and FSU settle, and it looks like that's a high chance right now, because court's not going anywhere. There's been no big success right now for either school or for the conference, for that matter. So with that being the case, a settlement is what all three parties need. and all three parties probably won at this point. So it's exciting news. Whether you want the people to stay in the ACC, if you're wanting Clemson FSU to stay, which I personally am, I wish ACC would make more money. But I love the heritage, the foundation of the ACC, so I want them to stay. But it sounds like that might be the next step, is where they're going to settle and it'll at least postpone the fight. But what's important is this: with all these conference realignment news coming out, it's causing Clemson to have to shift how they can win this battle. So let's clarify the win for Clemson when it comes down to this conference realignment battle.
Jarvis Davis here for FanDuel. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So guess what? I'm about to tell you a little bit more. We got a little something just for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. It doesn't matter if you're a fan of the Atlanta Falcons, the Carolina Panthers, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Las Vegas Raiders. It doesn't matter, because guess what? With a YouTube TV base plan, you'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. Yes, every regular season out-of-market game. That is so dope. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon, and make sure you download America's #1 sportsbook.
I don't know about y'all, but there's nothing like going to a live college football game. Hearing the fans, hearing the chants, hearing the fight songs, it creates an environment that nothing beats it. And the best place to go to get those tickets is Gametime. Gametime has a new feature called Gametime Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live event even easier. What it does is it filters out the fluff to show you only the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Clemson has a lot of games coming up soon. Make sure you get to at least one game this season by going to Gametime, type in Clemson, and pick the date you want to go to. It has some great features like all-in pricing, where it shows you the exact price without any surprise fees at checkout. It also gives you a panoramic view of your seats before you buy them, so you know exactly what to expect when you see it. It has the lowest price guarantee, or it credits you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app now. Create an account and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Gametime app now today. What time is it? It's game time. The win for Clemson right now is to give in on this battle so we can win the war later on. Postpone the war. Look, right now, this summer, the win for Clemson, the reason they got into all this conference realignment, the reason they got into the argument in the first place was, bottom line, very simplifying it, was to make more money. To bring in more money, the money to match their success, to money match where they feel like the program is at. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. Their win was to join the conference, join a different conference in the next couple of years. That's what it felt like, so they could get more money, to get paid that SEC money, that Big Ten money. It doesn't look like that's going to happen, or at least it doesn't look like that it's going to happen without a long time paying a bunch of money in court fees. This summer, that was the win for Clemson. With the news that broke Tuesday, the news that broke yesterday, it shifts the perspective, and now it feels like the win for Clemson is you've got to be, let's end this court case now. Let's settle. Let's not give in 100%. Let's make the ACC compromise us now. And that way we can push this war to another time. Here's what I mean. In this court case so far, it's been going on for a while now. It's not recent news. It's been going on for a good bit. Clemson, according to reports, has already spent over $1 million when it comes down to throughout the court case, whether paying for lawyers, court fees, all this kind of stuff. They've already spent over $1 million. And they're nowhere near close to an end of these court cases. So Clemson's losing money. ACC is losing money. It also is causing a little bit of a rift. I mean, you could kind of feel that at the ACC Media Week to kick off the football season this year. There's a little bit of a rift in the ACC with FSU and Clemson fighting and arguing with the team conference. let's end that. I think Clemson's win for now has got to be to settle. The success initiatives, the TV distribution of value money based on TV popularity and TV ratings, that's a huge win for Clemson because you're already boosting up. Right now, every team gets paid the exact same amount of money. So if Georgia Tech plays a no name and they get not a lot of people at all watching their game, and then Clemson goes and plays Georgia week 1 and have millions of people watching, they got paid the exact same amount for that one game, both of them. So very different, right? I mean, I know Georgia Tech played Florida State week 1, but very different. Or not week 2, that was week 0. But either way, what we're saying is no matter who their opponents are, no matter what their seasons are, no matter if a team goes 0-12 or a team goes 12-0, they get paid the same amount of money from the conference right now. There's no success initiatives. There's no features of the more you play in playoffs, you get a bonus. Or if you win national championship, you win a bonus. Or if you win the AC championship, there's none of that right now. Let's make them compromise. Let's make them insert some of that. Let's make there be some kind of success initiatives or some kind of TV ratings where you do get paid more for the more amount of viewers that you have, or you do get paid more for the more success you have. Insert some aspect of that. And then boost up or advance up the deadline for that grant of rights. Make them move it up from 2036. 2030 makes 100% sense because then you not only have conference negotiations, but you also have TV negotiations. And that could be a big push in the new conference. For instance, if the new TV negotiations come out in 2030, the network negotiations come out and ACC renegotiates with ESPN, and now they're getting paid a lot more for their games, and it's a different setup. Clemson might have a very initiative to stay in the ACC if they're going to compete with the other two conferences. Whereas if maybe that's not the case, maybe ESPN and ACC don't reach an agreement, but Clemson could go to SEC where they're getting paid more with a different network. So it makes sense to wait till 2030 for both the conference, for Clemson, and for FSU in this situation, because then it's creating all the negotiations at 1 year that all have a lot to do with each other. That would be huge. That would be absolutely huge. That's important because then you're allowing that. Right now, it prevents this distraction of what's going on. If we get rid of this, if we reach a settlement, if Clemson, FSU, ACC reach a settlement right now, you're no longer distracted with what's going to happen for the next 12 years. Because let's be honest, this negotiation, if it keeps going, is not just going to end. It's not just going to magically go away. There's got to be something that ends it. There's got to be something that causes an end. And this court case, as we said, is not going to end for another 4 to 6 years at the earliest. That's a prediction on our end, but I do not see this settling before 2028. I just don't, or I could see it settle. I don't see the court case being finalized, one side winner, one side loser, before 2028, unless it's a settlement. So now that talks are happening, ACC's willing to talk. Clemson's willing to talk. FSU's willing to talk. Let those three talk, reach a settlement that kind of none of the three parties are going to come out and be like, yeah, we won that. But also none of the three parties are going to come out and be like, we completely lost that. Go ahead and give in on this battle, compromise, wave the white flag, come out with a settlement, have them advance up that negotiation deadline to the 2030 so that then you have the freedom in 2030 to evaluate all factors for all conferences before you make a decision on the future. That's going to impact the program heavily. So right now, the win for Clemson is no longer get out of the ACC. That can't be the win right now, because if it is, you're going to be in a battle. You're going to be distracted for the next 10 years possibly. The win for Clemson right now has to be reach an agreement that provides a little bit more money, reach an agreement that advances up that 2036 deadline and now makes it 2030 or even earlier. That'd be great. But advance up that deadline, advance up that timeline, and then give in on a little bit. You're going to have to give in to some. Clemson's not going to get everything they want. It's a compromise. But if you're able to reach that settlement now, it removes a lot of the outside distractions, a lot of the outside features, and allows for a little bit piece of time before that big war when it's time to either truly leave the conference or double down with the ACC. Because here's the truth. Amongst conference realignment, there's never 100% focus on the true game, right? Every single game I've watched so far this season, both the Georgia and the App State game, I've thought against Georgia, I was like, is this what's going to be the future if we go to the ACC or SEC? I don't think it would, but is that a possibility? Against App State, I've thought, well, dang, what is this going to look like? Are we still going to play teams like this if we move conferences? Every part of the game is now tainted by conference realignments, and it can cause distractions from what's going on. So make a settlement, clarify your win and change your win a little bit. That way you can push us back and get back to truly playing football, focusing on the field. Because with all this going on, it's easy to forget about what's going on the field. But let's get back to this week. Let's dive in. Let's move on. Let's dive into the most crucial offensive players for both teams this coming Saturday against the Wolfpack. Hey, Clemson fans, have you heard about Roy? It stands on Return on You, and it's a new platform that lets you, the fans, get involved in NIL like never before by making contributions directly to your favorite athletes. By supporting players directly, you can help shape rosters, retain talent, and keep your favorite players out of the transfer portal. As you know, NIL has changed the game for college athletes, and Roy changes the NIL game for fans. You get exclusive content access. When fans contribute to a successful campaign, they receive access to exclusive content from the athletes, such as their announcement decisions, behind-the-scenes footage, and other personal reflections, all of which are only available to the fans who support that athlete. You also get no risk. Fans' contributions are securely held and only distributed if the athlete makes the decision that aligns with the fan's support. If not, the money is returned right back to you. Download Roy for the iOS or Android and enter code Locked On, and you will automatically be entered into a sweepstakes to earn $5,000 cash. Get the Roy app right now. Visit roy.com for additional details. No purchase necessary, void where prohibited. Get off the sidelines and get into the NIL game with Roy. Klubnik, Wesco, and Brenningstool are the most crucial players for Clemson's offense this coming weekend. Sports Illustrated Clemson Tigers put out a post this past week that talked about the offensive stars to watch this coming Saturday, and I'm gonna agree with them. And this is the first article I've read from them. They've got great stuff, but this is the first one I've read that I agree 100%. And so we're gonna go and we're gonna agree with them on this. So what we're saying is we read on their website and we are 100% agreeing with, and it goes through this: the top 3 most crucial players on the offense for Clemson and for NC State. When you look at Clemson, it's easy. Number 1 is Cade Klubnik. Our offense is only going to go as far as he is. That's proven for the past 4 years. If our quarterback is poor, we're not going to have a great game. So Cade Klubnik, he had an amazing game, a career game against App State, only 1/2, and he almost threw 400 yards with 7 total touchdowns he was responsible for. Career night for him. But can he continue that? Now, as we're going into ACC play, can he keep that up? Can he keep that momentum and keep that fire going in him? So that he's crucial for our success. Number 2 is Bryant Wesco. Dabo put out a statement earlier this week saying that Bryant Wesco is almost ready for the full offense, meaning he's almost on starting, getting a lot of reps. Right now, his reps are a little limited because he's not got a full grasp of the offense. He's almost fully grasped it, which means increased playing time, which means increased stats, which means increased potential. He's going to make a big difference. We need him every single week, seeing more and more of him on the field, because he proved against App State. When you give him a chance, when he's on the field, he's going to make a difference. And I'm excited to see him as we get into ACC play. And the third thing is this. This is a player we talked about before the season started. We said that he would be the security, the safe spot for Cade Klubnik. When safe spot gets in trouble, Jake Brenningstool is going to be where he turns to. That's what we said beginning of the season. Now, let's read what Sports Illustrated said about him. They said this: Jake Brenningstool has emerged as Klubnik's security blanket for a reason. We called it. Jake Brenningstool is the guy that Cade goes to when he doesn't have anyone else. If he's running off the field, if he's not got any open looks, he's looking for Jake to see if he's open. That's the kind of big target he is, and he's talented. I mean, look at his one-handed catch in Georgia. Right now, he's leading the team in touchdowns and in catches throughout the year. He's already got over 100 yards, has 10 catches, has 2 touchdowns. He's playing amazing. He's got a great game, or he's got a great year going so far. We need that to continue. He is definitely going to be crucial for Clemson to win. If these 3 players can click, Clemson's got a great chance at beating the Wolfpack. But on the other side of that, we'll hit these quickly. The three most crucial offensive players for NC State. Number one is their quarterback, C.J. Bailey. Look, their quarterback, Grayson McCall, is benched from Coastal Carolina. He is benched, and C.J. Bailey is starting. Apparently, Grayson McCall is injured with an undisclosed injury, so we're not sure what that is. But I don't think he was injured. I think they're just not happy with his performance. Fun fact. But either way, C.J. Bailey's a true freshman. He looked all right against L.A. Tech, but we'll have to make sure. We'll see how he does against ACC opponent. If he comes out and just lays an egg and is terrible, makes a great game for Clemson, right? So he's going to be important. Their running back, Jordan Waters, he is someone that, especially the freshman quarterback, they're going to lean on him a lot. They're going to give him the ball. I expect him to get a lot of carries. He's entering like a 6th season transfer from Duke. I think he's going to get a lot of carries this kind of game. We expect to see him a lot. So if our defensive line can shut him down early, that'd be nice. And then the last one is this. A lot of times an underrated role when it comes down to a freshman quarterback is the center, because a freshman quarterback's not going to be able to call out specifically all the blitzes and all the different reads of the defense. So that a center, especially an experienced center, has got to be able to be there and do that for him. And that's why Zeke Correll is important for the Wolfpack. CJ Bailey is going to be looking at him. He's going to be looking to Correll to call out the reads, call out the blitzes, help him call out that defense so he knows exactly what's coming. So those three are huge. If Clemson can confuse their center, get to their quarterback, get to their running back, Clemson should have a really good game. But those are the 6 most crucial offensive players that are going to be on that field for Clemson and NC State this Saturday at noon. And with all that being said, that is going to wrap up this edition of the Locked On Clemson podcast. Thanks so much for making Locked On Clemson your first listen every day. Now go check out Locked On College Football podcast. From NIL deals to never-ending conference realignment rumors, Spencer McCaughlin gets you ready for an exciting season on the gridiron. You can find the link to Locked On College Football in the description, so you don't need to search. It is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Later this week, we're going to dive into more as we get ready for this NC State game. We have a crossover episode coming tomorrow with Locked On Wolfpack. We're excited about that. And on Friday, we'll give our updated pregame thoughts. We also want to let you know about a new feature. Make sure you join our Locked On Clemson Insider program. That is an amazing program that lets you chat with me during games. You get one-on-one chat with me at any time. Send me a text. You get to send in questions that we'll answer on the show. You get bonus videos for insiders. To join Locked On Clemson Insider program, text Clemson to 864-252-1907. You get 14 days for free to try it out. Again, that's Clemson to 864-252-1907. If you haven't, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcast at, or if you're watching over on YouTube, hit that subscribe button right there. That way, every single day we can be your first listen here on Locked On Clemson podcast. Make sure to check out other podcasts from Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. We can't wait to see you on tomorrow's episode. But until then, keep that Tiger pride alive and roaring. And as always, go Tigers.